Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's Lee Henson, President and Founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. This is our Agile, Not So Agile episode, where we share with you something uplifting in hopes that it'll inspire you and help you to have an amazing weekend so you'll be recharged, refreshed, re-energized, and ready to take on the week ahead. Today, I want to talk to you about wanting things. And there's a famous quote, and I don't know how I feel about this quote, but I'm going to share it. It says, "When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful." I believe the quote was from a gentleman, Eric Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, but that is the quote. So here's my question. Have you ever been in a place where you couldn't breathe? Now, this is a little dark, but I'm speaking from personal experience. I remember when I was a child, when I was young, that I had a best friend, and I went to his birthday party. And at his birthday party, they were having a pool party. And let's just cut to the chase. I don't know how to swim. I've been to my friend's house several times. I often played and stayed in the shallow end. And, he didn't mind, his family didn't mind, and they knew full and well that I couldn't swim. At this party, however, there was a guy who was a bully. And I'll never forget this moment. We were singing and hanging out by a table, and it was off to the side of the pool. And this guy just grabbed me and spun me around and tossed me into the pool. Now, that wouldn't have been such a big deal if it hadn't been the deep end. And the deep end is 8 to 9 feet deep. And at this point, everyone was focused on the table and the birthday boy opening presents and, doing their thing, So it was one of those moments where no one was focused on the pool. And what I can tell you is I remember going down and touching the bottom. And I remember fighting as hard as I could to come back to the top. And I did. And in panic, sheer panic, I got a little bit of air, but not enough. And I went back down again. And I remember the second time going down that I don't remember touching the bottom. I don't remember much of anything after that. I do remember waking up on the side of the pool when a parent who was fully clothed jumped in and saved my life. What I can tell you is this moment that I do remember was the moment that I succumbed to not being able to breathe. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. And what I can tell you is, and you hear people who often say this, but it was peaceful. It wasn't, it was going to be a huge tragedy if something would have happened to me that way at a birthday party. But at that time, at that moment, it was a peaceful moment. It was a moment where I didn't have another care in the world, because the only thing that was important to me at that moment was breathing, and I couldn't do it. So I have a lot of respect for this quote because I've been in a position where I physically couldn't breathe. But I don't ever want to make light of people who have loved ones or relatives who've ever suffered or been in a position where they couldn't breathe. And I know that the term, specifically, I can't breathe, it elicits a lot of emotions, especially in cultural communities where we've had a lot of awful interactions with bad individuals who happen to also be involved in law enforcement who did things they shouldn't have done at the time. Now, what I can tell you is it doesn't mean that all those individuals are bad people. It just means that in every group of people, no matter how empowered they are, that you'll have a few individuals who aren't necessarily the right people. But I want to focus my attention today on how we can take our inability to breathe and turn that into getting what we want out of life and being successful, whether it's being successful with our families and relationships, whether it's being successful with our children, whether it's being successful in our business. How can we be successful just as bad as I wanted to breathe in that one moment? And number one on my list right away is stop making excuses. For years, I was the person who would make up excuses, guilty as charged. I can't do this because of that, or I can't have this because of this, or I'm always going to be this way because, well, that's just how it's destined to be. And I made up as many excuses as I could. And as long as you're making up excuses, you're never going to be successful. Success comes from a lack of excuses. If you come in and you say, I don't have enough time, make time. If you say, I don't know how, find someone who does know how. Find a leader, find a mentor. Watch a YouTube video, for crying out loud. There's got to be something that's going to help you not give up on your dream. And you need to stop with the excuses and start really gaining that focus, that laser focus we talked about earlier in the week, in order for you to be successful. Second on my list is stop being interested and start being committed. There's a huge difference when it comes to the success of individuals between someone who's interested in something and someone who's dedicated and committed to succeed. One's just wishful thinking, and the other one is taking on responsibility and accountability to make sure things happen. So people who are successful aren't the ones who are just interested. Those are the ones who want it bad enough that they are going to dedicate and be committed to the cause, right? And that's important. I think a lot of people don't take that into consideration. Coming in at number 3 is you need to make sure you know exactly why you want what you desire. There's a quote from a guy, I'm going to butcher his name. I know it's Friedrich Nietzsche, I want to say his name is. He says, he who has a why can always endure anyhow. That makes a lot of sense to me, right? If you know what's making you tick and you know why you want to do something, it's going to help you understand how to best apply it. So you often hear people say they don't understand the why behind the what. But I've heard people say everything from I want to one day own a Ferrari to I want a better home to I want to be able to feed my family. Big stretch there. But if you know exactly why you want something and you know what it's going to do for you or what it's going to do for your family or what it's going to do for your children, those are the things that drive you. If you know exactly what you want, those are the things that are going to push you. Those are the things that are going to make you want it just as bad as you want to breathe. And you need to make sure you understand what motivates you, right? And focus on the things that motivate you, whether it's intrinsic or extrinsic motivation. You need to find what motivates you and find what pushes you forward. And last but not least, certainly, is focus. This is one of the 5 Scrum values, but it's also so incredibly important. I talked earlier this week about laser focus, and I talked about dedicating focus to what you're trying to do. And I think that if you really are focused on what's the most important, and here's my hint here. There was a leader at the church that I attend who talked about the difference between good, better, and best. And here's what he said. He said, sometimes we lose ourselves in doing all the good things, which on the surface sounds perfectly fine, right? If you're doing things that are good, that should all add up to being something great. However, what he pointed out is sometimes we lose ourselves in doing all the good things and we never get around to doing the better things or the best things. And I'm just like, wow. He challenged us to think through and say, what is the best use of our time? There's lots of good uses of our time because there's lots of good things that we could be doing. But what are the better and the best things, and how can we aim and focus on those? And what I found is, especially dealing with C-level executives in large companies, I've seen the difference between those who are really laser focused and understand and get the thing done versus those who are not. Just this past week, Richard Branson flew up in his Virgin aircraft for Virgin Galactic. Proud moment for me. I shed a tear. And I just love that man. Richard Branson is just an incredible, incredible human being. The first thing he said when he reached space, instead of unbuckling himself and enjoying and celebrating a moment that he dreamt of his entire life, he stopped and had a message for the children. His message for the children was, when I was a child, I used to look up at the stars. And I dreamt that one day that I could be something. I could be someone. And I could be a person of value who gave back. Today I'm in my very own spacecraft flying with the stars. If you have a dream, it can come true. If you have something that you need in your life, go after it. If you have something that's going to get you to where you need to be, chase it. Don't let it get away. It doesn't take a billionaire to tell you to do it. But that moment for him was one of the proudest achievements and moments of his life. Because he said for every child who ever dreamt of going and seeing what space was like and feeling weightlessness and being there, that his mission is to provide every single one of them with that experience, with that ability to be able to do it. Many of you can write it off and say, well, it's a billionaire's dream. If I had $1 billion, I could do that too. But for Richard, what he said made a lot of sense. He wanted it to be not just his dream, but he wanted to make it part of your dream. And I think that sometimes when you have the right motivational leaders, and when you got people who have that special gift, that touch, that thing that you can't teach someone to do, it's either there or it's not there. It's inside of you. It's part of who you are. Those are the keys that help you really be successful. So just as I remember that moment when I was sitting at the bottom of the pool, I remember today, Friday, where I'm sitting on a podcast with you, enjoying every moment, knowing that if I only help one of you, have a better weekend, have a better day, if I help one of you to uplift someone else and to motivate someone and to mentor them and take them under your wing, if I help one of you to be a better person, then my mission here is complete. The last piece I'll leave you with is a very dear friend of mine. She recently got a large promotion, and she posted on LinkedIn that she got this promotion. And I took a moment to congratulate her. And I put in the hashtags and in the little congratulations, that was a proud moment for me because I knew that I was one of the people who helped her in the very beginning of her Agile journey. But what amazed me the most was that she took the time to write a couple of paragraphs about how her life was changed forever because of the decision she made to attend one of my classes. Now, I honestly don't think it's of me that happened. I think it's all in her own volition. But the fact that she recognized that someone gave her a start, that someone gave her a chance, that someone pushed her and got her motivated and excited to move forward, those are all key things that are so awesome that can't be, you can't expect it to be reproduced. But those are the kind of things that help people on their path to success. And I hope that you can take the time to mentor someone, uplift someone, give them that same opportunity. Because if you do, it's going to make the world a better place. That'll do it for this Friday. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I encourage you to tune in next week where we'll talk about a lot of additional topics. I hope that you're amazing and that you're awesome and that you live your best life. As always, I encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Until next week, do take care.